Sean Hannity.
Always concerned for our country.
Always honoring our servicemen and servicewomen.
And standing up for liberty every day.
Real reform sometimes looks like this.
Governor Scott Walker's plan to limit the state unions is reshaping the state.
But it also looks like this.
A local school district has reported a surplus, with smaller class sizes, too. Workers are now embracing performance pay. Overtime costs are down 30%. A balanced budget has now been signed by Governor Walker, with $3 billion in taxpayer savings.
Those from Washington won't fix Washington. Join Scott Walker today.
All right, 25 now on this debate eve before the top of the hour. 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Governor Scott Walker, the great state of Wisconsin, is with us. Governor, how are you? Glad you could be with us, and you excited about the debate?
I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get in the ring and start talking about what we're going to do to make this country great again. And you mentioned that ad people can see at scottwalker.com is one of those exciting ones that talks about our plan of power to the people, not the union bosses.
You know, it's interesting. In the lead up to this debate with the latest poll numbers, et cetera, and Donald Trump on top, it seems that a lot of candidates, but not you, have decided to sort of set the stage for a showdown. I assume that's a conscious decision that you're running on your record and where you want to take the country and solutions. Isn't there a little bit of danger for those people that want to play with fire?
Well, the answer is not to out-Trump Trump. The answer is to go out and be who you are. I think voters want someone authentic. They want someone who can take on Washington. But most importantly, you nailed it. They want solutions. It's why we laid out our plan yesterday to take on unions. To me, any economic plan that doesn't bring our federal labor laws into the 21st century is just incomplete. So as we lay out our plans to help the people of this country, not the government, the people of America, get a better, more vibrant, more exciting, faster-growing economy, changing labor laws is a part of it. But as you know, Sean, I mean, on this stage on Wednesday night, I'm going to be the only one on that stage of the 11 of us who's actually got a comprehensive plan to repeal Obamacare and put patients and families back in charge of their health care. We call it the Day One Patient Freedom Plan. Not only do we send the bill up on day one to Congress to get them to act, on day one I signed the executive order to make them live under the same rules as everybody else in America. I think people want action and they want solutions.
Not only are we having a 40% increase for people across the country, Governor, in premiums, but it was reported last week that 400,000 Americans are now losing their plan that Obama said would never happen. You got to keep your plan, keep your doctor, and save money. Well, you lost your plan, you lost your doctor, and you're paying, up to 80% more.
Well, this is just, you've got it from this president who told us things that weren't true. In fact, PolitiFact named it the lie of the year. If you want to keep your plan, want to keep your doctor, you can do it. We now see that the only person that can make him look better in that regard is Hillary Clinton, who keeps telling us things that aren't true as well. In the end, what Americans want now more than ever is they want someone to look them in the eye and tell them exactly what they're going to do, and then have the confidence they're actually going to do it. And that's really the name of the game here, is that we have been tested like nobody else who's going to be on that stage on Wednesday night. We have done what we said we were going to do. We did it under unbelievable circumstances. 100,000 protesters, death threats, pushbacks, recall, targeting him last year. In the end, I don't think anyone doubts that we'll do what we say we're going to do. We're laying out clear plans to repeal Obama.
Governor,
we're the only one up there. Others, I challenge.
You risked
on that stage want to be real. They need to lay out what they would do to repeal Obamacare. Talk is cheap. You need a plan of action.
You risked your entire political career for your conservative beliefs, and you do deserve credit for that. And I think that people are going to pay very close attention to your plan, especially, not only on the health care. You're talking about health care savings accounts and competition and portability and pre-existing conditions. Is that all included in that?
Absolutely. Every bit of it out there, but it's all based on freedom. It's based on giving the American people to control not only their own health care decisions, but their own health care dollars. They have the ability to go out. If you want, you can buy it. There's no mandate that Obamacare is repealed entirely. The plan simply says you take your refundable tax credit, you go out and buy health care if you want. You can buy it over state lines. You can't be prohibited from getting a plan just because you get sick or because you have a pre-existing condition. You can go out and do it together. If you're a bunch of small business owners or farmers and others, we don't restrict you from doing that. And then, like you said, everybody, whether you buy your own health insurance or not, everybody gets another $1,000 of their own money to go put into a health savings account. It's a good deal all the way around. We put financial incentives for states to pass true lawsuit reform so that medical professionals are making decisions based on health needs, not based on preventative medicine. All these things are going to actually help lower premiums by helping lower cost of health care, not by having the government dictate it.
The U.S. ranked second in worldwide economic freedom as recently as the year 2000. We have now sunk to 16th, according to a new report of world economies. The Fraser Institute's annual report, Economic Freedom of the World, showed that the country's drop started in 2010, the second year of the Obama administration. It's a world-recognized report showing that the U.S. fell in several areas, including legal, property, regulation. The U.S., they write, once considered a bastion of economic freedom, now ranked 16th in the world after being as high as second in 2000. And that's Hong Kong is ahead of us, Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Ireland, Canada, the United Kingdom, Chile, all above the United States. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's all the more reason why we need a leader who's not afraid to take action immediately. One of the best things I learned from what we did in Wisconsin 4.5 years ago is we took action to push reform immediately. On day one, literally after I took the oath of office, we joined the federal lawsuit against Obamacare. On day one, I called a special session to focus on the economic and fiscal crisis our state faced at the time, literally to get government out of the way, not just through lower taxes, but by reining in regulations, by pushing back on the frivolous and out-of-control lawsuit environment we were in. Today, that time we were just coming off a month of more than 8% unemployment. Today it's down to 4.6%. Our labor participation rate, the rate by which people are working in my state, is almost 5 points higher than the nation right now. What we need in America now more than ever is a president who's not afraid to take action immediately, not just to lower and reform the tax code, lower the tax burden, but literally to rein in the out-of-control regulations, EPA being the worst. But there are many, many, many thousand more regulations out there that need to be reined in immediately. As president, I'm prepared to do that. You need a plan of action, and you need someone who's been tested. A novice, we had a novice in the White House for the last 6.5+ years. We've seen how well that has worked. It hasn't worked at all. It's not working for American families. It's not working for American workers. We need someone who's going to stand up and get the government out of the way so the people of this country and their families can get back to work again.
Governor, the president announced last week that he's taking in refugees from Syria and war-torn Iraq into the country. And yesterday, there was an article that many of them are apparently going to be put in the state of Wisconsin, in your home state. Now, our intelligence agencies have predicted that both ISIS and al-Qaeda are likely to infiltrate the refugee population. Do you think it's a good idea to take in these refugees?
No, and I've said, and not only because of that, and remember, that the left is going to say, we're not doing enough. They forget that the United States last year alone, in this past year, has permanently settled some 70,000 refugees, of which several thousand are from Syria. We spent $4 billion in the last several years to help in humanitarian aid to deal with the Syrian refugee crisis. What we're ignoring is the core problem. It's not the symptoms. The symptoms will only get worse until we address the core problem. The core problem is twofold. It's ISIS and it's Assad. Both have only grown under this administration. We had a president who calls ISIS the JV squad, and who essentially thinks that containment is enough. I don't agree with that. I think you cannot contain ISIS. You've got to eradicate it, and we need to lift the political restrictions on our military personnel to be able to do just that so they can work with the Kurds and the Sunnis and others. And in Syria in particular, we need to push back on Assad. We had a president who 3 years ago drew a red line in the sand, allowed it to be crossed. That's part of the reason why we have such a problem there. And the vacuum is not only being filled from other forces. Now we see more news that Russia is stepping up and putting more military power to prop up Assad. That is a huge mistake. It will only make the refugee problem worse. America needs to lead again. We need a president who's ready to lead on day one.
The president said yesterday that people who come here illegally should have the consequences of paying a fine, getting registered, and all kinds of steps that they should take in order to get right with the law. He says then, but when I hear folks talking as if somehow these kids are different from my kids or are less worthy in the eyes of God, that somehow they are less worthy of our respect and consideration and care, I think that's un-American. So what is your reaction and what is your plan on immigration? Do you like the idea of a wall? Should people that have come here illegally and not respected on laws and sovereignty, should they be sent home?
You have to secure the border for reasons far greater than just immigration. It is a national security and public safety and really a sovereignty issue. Every day, there are international criminal organizations penetrating our southern-based border with drugs, with firearms, with human trafficking. Secure the border. Truly do it. Not what politicians have said for decades. Truly secure the border. Enforce the laws. That means an effective E-Verify system. That means absolutely no sanctuary cities out there. We can't have sanctuary cities. I mean, Hillary Clinton says that sanctuary cities, her campaign said that they're good for public safety. Try telling Katie Steinle's family that they're good for public safety. They're not. We cannot have that. No amnesty, and then have a legal immigration system that goes forward, that puts a priority on American working families and their wages, the way I think it will improve the American economy. But when it comes to this specific instance of what you mentioned with the president, this is just such a ridiculous situation with his statements out there. Because remember, before last November, the president himself said 22 times he couldn't do what he did with executive actions. He said he wasn't the emperor, he was the president, he wasn't above the law. And then after he just grew frustrated several weeks after the last election, he went ahead and did it. I told a family that confronted me in Plainfield, Iowa, several months ago, who came, or actually were brought over from some other state to confront me on this, where the father talked about being in America without legal status, and he asked why I joined this federal lawsuit against the president. And I said, because in America, no one person, including the President of the United States, is above the law. The President cannot do this. He's acknowledged that. He still went out and did this. This is wrong. And I feel bad. I told him, I feel bad for your children. They're in a horrible situation. But no person is above the law in America, and that includes the President of the United States.
I agree with you, but Republicans, they made a promise in 2014. They didn't keep it, Governor. And, I make a distinction between conservative governors and Republicans in Congress. I think you putting your political career on the line, and you even went to Vegas to discuss doing this nationally, what you did with labor and the right to work and a Vegas speech. And I know that Hillary Clinton came out swinging and accused you of being a bully, and you hit her back pretty hard. But the reality is that Republicans in Congress are seeming capable of fighting this president.
Well, and that's why we need leadership from outside of Washington. And I get people's frustration. I think it's part of the reason why we've seen a rise in the polls of some of the so-called outsiders. But in the end, I think people want someone from outside of Washington, but they want someone who's actually been tested. Just on the immigration issue, good example of that. Governor Abbott and I and 23 other Republican governors went to court to block the president from doing what he was doing. It didn't happen because of congressional leadership. It happened because of governors leading on this issue. It's the same sort of thing we're going to do on Obamacare. It's why my day one plan makes them on day one through our executive action. Mm-hmm. And we can do it because the president carved them out through an executive action. We can put them back in. But we're going to put in place incentives to say, we want reform. We want it now. That's why Americans are frustrated that they've had it with this president, but they've had it with some of the leaders on the Republican side in Washington, and they want people to do what they said they were going to do.
Absolutely.
But one thing, you can ask even Democrats in my state. They certainly don't appreciate all the things I've done, but the one thing they do appreciate is I do exactly what I said I'm going to do. I've laid out a clear plan. I'm going to lay out every week another big, bold proposal to move this country forward. I'm not going to back down. I didn't back down in the past. I'm certainly not going to back down now. You can take it to the bank, which is exactly why I'm hoping people after this Wednesday's debate and in the coming weeks and months ahead will join our campaign at scottwalker.com.
My last question. Hillary tweeted out, unions help keep working families strong. Scott Walker's attacks on union and workers' rights aren't leadership, it's bullying. You tweeted back, actually, we're protecting the American worker from being forced to support candidates like you. That was perfect. I loved it. That was awesome.
Well, she just opens herself all the time. She took a whack at me. She does it about every week. The president did on Labor Day as well. It kind of tells you who they fear most. Someone who doesn't just talk but gets things done. But she went after me on her the day she put out her higher education plan, and we pushed back and said, while we were freezing tuition 4 years in a row at the University of Wisconsin campuses, she was charging campuses $225,000.
Yeah, that's a great comeback. Good for you.
Opening herself up for those sorts of attacks.
All right, how'd your Packers do this weekend?
We won. We beat the Bears, but man, it was way too close. So I'm up for the next game against the Seahawks, and
that's going to be a tough one.
Even in these early states, if I'm worried about losing votes, no, I am who I am. I'm a Packers fan through and through, and we're cheering for Aaron and the gang all the way through the Super Bowl.
Well, if you haven't joined FanDuel yet, it really enhances your NFL watching experience. And then you can pick Aaron Rodgers, by the way, as your quarterback, and you make your own team. And anyway, Governor, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, talk soon.